exponential function. Exponential functions or exponential expressions. An exponential function is a function that involves the expression b raised to the x power, where the base b is a positive number other than 1. So again, b is the base, and this base can be any positive number but not 1. X represents the exponent that the base b is raised to. So when you have an equation in this form, this is what we call an exponential function. Let's evaluate some exponential expressions. If f of x equals 2 to the x power, find each of the following. So first we're going to find f of -1. Now recall, evaluating expressions is nothing more than plugging a number into a function to see what you get out in terms of your output. So we're going to first plug in a -1 in place of x for the first example, and when we do so, it's going to look like so. Recall the rules for negative exponents, that you're going to have to flip the number in order to make the exponent a positive. So when we write that as a fraction, we write it as over 1, and then the 2 to the -1 is going to go to the bottom. Remember, when it goes to the bottom, it then becomes positive, and the 1 will go to the top. So when we do so, what we're left with for an output will simply be 1/2. Next, we want to find f of 3. So we're going to remove the x, this time replace it with a 3. And when we do so, it's going to look like so. 2 raised to the 3rd power means you're going to multiply the number 2 3 times, and that's going to give you 8. So our output here is 8. Let's go to example C. Remove the x and replace it with 5/2. When we do so, it's going to look like so. And recall, when you have a rational number, a fraction as your exponent, that is nothing more than radicals. So let's convert that fraction into a radical. So the top tells you what power it's going to be raised to. So we're going to raise it to the 5th power. The bottom is the root, so that's square root. Anytime you have a 2 means square root. The base number, the big number that's going to go under the radical, will be a 2. So rewriting this in radical form is going to be the square root of 2 raised to the 5th power. Let's simplify the inside. If I multiply the number 2 5 times, I'm going to get 32. The square root of 32 is not a perfect square, but it does have a perfect inside of it, because 16 times 2 is 32. Let's remove the perfect out. The square root of 16 is 4. We solve it. It goes on the outside, and what's left goes underneath the radical to leave you with a simplified answer of 4 radical 2. Let's go to example D. We're going to evaluate for 0.92. So remove the x and replace it with 4.92. This you will need to use a calculator. So in your calculator, you're going to plug in 2 raised to the 4.2 power. And you should get an approximate number of like so. And there you have it, evaluating an exponential expression or function.